The betrayal. Elena Carter's hands trembled as she held the envelope. Her name was scrawled across the front in David's handwriting. Rushed. Guilty. She'd found it on the kitchen counter of their shared apartment, propped against the coffee maker she'd bought for them last Christmas. Outside, the Seattle rain drummed against the windows like impatient fingers, but Elena barely heard it over the rushing sound in her ears. 2 days. They were supposed to get married in 2 days. She tore open the envelope, though some part of her already knew. Maybe she'd known for weeks, maybe months. Maybe that was why she'd thrown herself so completely into planning the perfect wedding. 300 guests, orchids flown in from Thailand, a dress that cost more than her car. If everything was perfect on the outside, she wouldn't have to look at what was crumbling within. Elena, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I know the timing is terrible, but I can't marry you when I'm in love with someone else. It's Rachel. It's been Rachel for months now. I never meant for this to happen, but I can't keep lying to you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. David. Rachel. Her best friend since college. Her maid of honor. The woman who'd helped her pick out that expensive dress, who'd thrown her a bridal shower just last weekend, who'd toasted to Elena's happiness with champagne and a smile that suddenly seemed like a mask. Elena's phone buzzed. Text messages flooded in, first from her mother, then her sisters, then friends. Someone had told everyone. Of course they had. In their social circle, scandal spread faster than wildfire. By tomorrow, every person who'd RSVP'd yes would know that Elena Carter had been abandoned 2 days before her wedding, left for her own best friend. The pity would be unbearable. Elena spent that night calling vendors, canceling everything. The venue kept half the deposit. The florist kept it all. The caterer was sympathetic but firm about their cancellation policy. By dawn, Elena had lost $23,000 and whatever remained of her pride. The next 3 months blurred together in shades of gray. Elena moved out of the apartment she'd shared with David, back into her childhood bedroom at her parents' house. She took a leave of absence from her job at Morrison Events, a cruel irony since David's father owned the company. Every grocery store trip became an exercise in avoiding people she knew. Every social media scroll showed her friends moving forward with their lives while hers had imploded. Her mother tried to help. "You dodged a bullet, sweetheart. Better to find out now than after the wedding." Her sister was more direct. "He's trash. Rachel's trash. You're better off." But Elena didn't feel better off. She felt like a failure. At 32, she was supposed to have her life together, marriage, career advancement, maybe starting a family. Instead, she was sleeping in a twin bed, surrounded by high school trophies, eating ice cream for dinner, and trying to figure out who she was without the future she'd spent 2 years planning. Then, on a particularly dark Tuesday, Elena's phone rang with an unknown number. "Elena Carter? This is Margaret Chen from Aurora Convention Center in Seattle. We met at the Pacific Northwest Event Planners Conference last year. I'm calling because we have an opening for an event coordinator, and your name came highly recommended. I know this might seem out of the blue, but would you be interested in discussing the position?" Elena stared at the rain-streaked window of her childhood bedroom. Seattle. 3,000 miles from everyone who pitied her, from every corner that held memories of David, from the wreckage of her old life. "Yes," she heard herself say. "I'm very interested." 2 weeks later, Elena Carter boarded a plane to Seattle with 2 suitcases and a heart that was still broken, but finally, tentatively, ready to try healing.
The brutal betrayal. Aria Santos stood in the bridal suite of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, her hands trembling as she adjusted the pearl necklace that had belonged to her grandmother. The ivory silk gown flowed around her like a dream, hand-stitched with intricate beadwork that had taken her months to perfect. At 28, Arya had built a small but respected fashion design business, creating custom pieces for brides who wanted something truly unique. This dress was meant to be her masterpiece, the gown that would mark the beginning of her happily ever after. "You look absolutely stunning, Mija," her mother whispered, tears glistening in her dark eyes as she pinned a delicate veil into her black hair. "Cameron is the luckiest man in the world." Arya smiled, though her stomach fluttered with nervous energy. Through the suite's windows, she could see guests arriving at the chapel across the courtyard. Elegant figures in designer suits and flowing gowns. Cameron's business associates mostly, along with a few of her friends from the fashion district. Their worlds had always been different. His filled with corporate mergers and investment portfolios, hers with fabric swatches and late-night sewing sessions. But they had found common ground in their shared ambition and love for beautiful things. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "5 minutes, Miss Santos. We're ready when you are." Arya took a deep breath, gathering the train of her dress as her bridesmaids arranged themselves behind her. Her maid of honor, Isabella, squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "This is it, Arya, your fairy tale beginning." But when they reached the chapel doors, Arya noticed something was wrong. Guests were whispering among themselves, their expressions confused and uncomfortable. The wedding coordinator looked frantic as she spoke rapidly into her headset. "What's happening?" Arya asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "Mr. Mitchell needs to speak with you privately," the coordinator said, her professional smile barely concealing panic. "He's in the groom's preparation room." Arya's world tilted slightly, but she forced herself to walk steady down the hallway, her heels clicking against marble floors that suddenly felt like ice. She found Cameron standing by the window, still in his tuxedo, but somehow looking like a stranger. His sandy hair was perfectly styled, his blue eyes cold and distant in a way she'd never seen before. "Cameron," Arya whispered. "What's wrong? Are you having last-minute nerves? We can talk about—" He interrupted, turning to face her with an expression devoid of the warmth she'd fallen in love with 3 years earlier. "I can't do this, Arya," he said with a voice taking on the corporate tone he used in board meetings. "I'm calling off the wedding." The words hit her like physical blows. Arya gripped the doorframe to steady herself, her grandmother's pearls suddenly feeling like they were choking her. "What do you mean?" "Cameron, we have 200 people out there. Your parents flew in from California, my entire family." "I've been thinking about our future, about what I need from a partner as my career advances. Arya, you're talented, but you're not suitable for the life I'm building." "Suitable?" Arya repeated, the word tasting bitter in her mouth. "My business is expanding internationally. I need someone who can navigate high society, someone with the right connections and background, someone who understands finance and politics, not just fabric and colors." Arya felt tears burning behind her eyes, but Cameron wasn't finished destroying her. "I've been seeing Vanessa Pemberton for the past 2 months," he continued with brutal efficiency. "She's everything I need. Ivy League educated, from a prominent family, already established in my social circles. We're planning to announce our engagement next week." The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that Arya almost laughed at the absurdity of it. "You've been cheating on me while we planned our wedding?" "I've been making practical decisions about my future," he replied without a trace of remorse. "You should do the same. Find someone more compatible with your circumstances." "Get out!" Arya said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Arya, you need to be realistic." "Get out!" she screamed, her composure shattering. "Get out before I do something we'll both regret." Cameron straightened his tie and walked toward the door. "I'll have my assistant handle the cancellation announcements. Send me the bills for anything non-refundable." As the door closed behind him, Arya Santos, successful designer, beloved daughter, hopeful bride, collapsed onto the floor in her perfect wedding dress, her dreams scattered around her like broken glass. Mysterious savior. 6 months after the wedding that never was, Arya had rebuilt her life from the ashes of humiliation. She'd moved her fashion studio to a smaller space in Brooklyn, focusing on ready-to-wear pieces rather than bridal gowns. The sight of white silk still made her stomach clench. Her savings were nearly depleted, but her designs had found a new edge, influenced by the darkness she'd survived. The gallery opening in Manhattan was a networking event she couldn't afford to skip. Fashion industry contacts mingled with artists and collectors in the stark white space, their voices echoing off polished concrete floors. Arya wore one of her own creations, a midnight blue dress with architectural lines that made her feel armored and powerful. "Your work is extraordinary," a voice said behind her, as she studied a sculpture that seemed to shift and change in the gallery's lighting. Arya turned to find a man who commanded attention without effort, tall and lean, with dark hair and eyes so deep they seemed to hold secrets. His charcoal suit was impeccably tailored, but his intensity was what took her breath away. "Thank you," Arya replied, studying his face. "Are you an artist?" "Dante Blackwood," he said, extending his hand. "I'm more of a, curator of unique talents." Before Arya could ask what that meant, an ethereal woman approached them. She moved with otherworldly grace, her skin holding a subtle purple luminescence that seemed to shift in the gallery's stark lighting. Her beauty was alien and captivating. "Dante, the collection requires your attention," the woman said, her voice carrying musical undertones. "Luna, meet Arya Santos, the designer whose work I was telling you about." Luna studied Arya with eyes that seemed to see beyond surface appearances. "The one who transforms trauma into beauty. Fascinating." "I should go," Arya said, suddenly feeling out of place among these elegant, mysterious people. "Wait," Dante said, pulling out a business card. "I'm launching a new fashion division. Your aesthetic, that combination of vulnerability and strength. It's exactly what I'm looking for." Arya stared at the card. Blackwood Industries was legendary, a tech conglomerate worth billions. "You want to hire me?" "I want to partner with you," Dante corrected. "Complete creative control, unlimited budget, international distribution. All you have to do is design what speaks to your soul." "Why?" Arya asked, suspicion warring with hope. "You don't even know my work." Dante's smile was enigmatic. "I know more than you think, including what happened with Cameron Mitchell." Heat flooded Arya's cheeks. "If this is some kind of—" "This is business," Dante interrupted. "You have a vision that could revolutionize fashion. The question is whether you're brave enough to embrace it." Looking into his dark eyes, Arya felt something shift inside her, a spark of the ambition Cameron's betrayal had nearly extinguished. "When do we start?"